and the Freudian idea of suppression. So we suppress that fear, but you cannot suppress it. So Freud, he had come in his later years on a lecture tour of the United States. He was giving a talk, and he was very popular by that time. So the lecture hall was crowded, and some people couldn't get in. And then Freud was giving a talk, they were banging in the door or peeking out, creating a commotion outside. So Freud said it's exactly like that. Our fears, our impulses, we suppress them. We push them down beneath the surface. But they're not completely gone. They're just like that. They'll bang and create a commotion, create a disturbance. Similarly, our fears, our guilt, our hatreds, our untamed desires, we have pushed them down, but they will come up in some ways and disturb our lives in strange behaviors, an unexplained depression or rage. Something comes up, and we don't know why we are behaving this way, but it's because of those suppressed feelings or desires. And Ernst Becker says that the greatest fear in our lives is death. And it's very natural. It has to be. Any mortal being who is aware of death, and human beings are probably the only animals who in general are aware of death. Animals at the point of death sometimes become aware of their impending death, but human beings, we are aware of death anyway. So it stands to reason that we will be terrified of it. And according to Becker, we are terrified of it, but we suppress it. But you cannot suppress it. It will come up. How does it come up? So Becker says it comes up in our lives as immortality projects. Immortality projects. We cannot be immortal. We are mortal, but we try to be immortal. And immortality projects, like first and foremost is children. I shall live on through child. It's biological. But also everything else. Becker is sort of a reductionist. Every other great thing that you're doing, you're writing a book, an author, he says that's immortality project. You want to live on. So one author, famous author in New York, he was asked, do you want to become immortal through your books? And he said, no, I want to become immortal in my apartment here. That's our thing, We want to be immortal in this body, but that's not possible. And so we try to be immortal in my art, in my books, in my paintings, by building an institution like a school or a college or a business, through building empire building, everything from start writing a poem to Alexander conquering half the world. It's all, according to Becker, immortality projects, and they're all doomed to failure. By the way, religion also is an immortality project, the ultimate immortality project. And of course, he was an agnostic, so he said these are all doomed to failure. They're going to die anyway. Spirituality, religion says we beg to differ. And Vedanta very clearly says we beg to differ. There is something in us which survives death, which was there before birth, which is there right now, which will be there after death. This is the big claim of religion. Without this claim, it can't be a religion. One distinguishing mark of any religion is it will claim that there is something beyond death. If there is nothing beyond death, it's materialism. It can't be religion. Every religion in the world claims something exists after death. Even the idea of a ghost or something exists after death. So Vedanta claims that. What's this Vedantic idea of something surviving after death? I'll just sketch the outline of it and then we'll go on. The Vedantic idea of the human personality is tripartite. There are three components here. And Vedanta says two of them are very obvious. The third one we want to introduce. Two of them we all know. What are the two components? One is the body. This body. Who does not know it? That's what we primarily identify with. This physical body. That's one. There is also a second part of the human personality, which is the mind. Call it mind, call it personality. What is it exactly? We all experience it. We all have a private inner life. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories, desires, the sense of ego. All of that is our inner personality, our inner life. Our first person subjective experience. All of us have it. So that's the second component of the human personality. Vedanta calls this the physical body, and calls that mind or personality, whatever we call it, Vedanta calls it a subtle body. In Sanskrit, Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira. Both are bodies. Both are not you. At this point, a physicalist or materialist might argue, why are you saying that the mind is a separate component? It's the body. It's what is the mind? A physicalist will say it's being generated by the brain. The brain and the nervous system, which is the physical body, that's generating what you call the mind. Don't say the mind is a separate number two, a separate component. No. But we do not agree. First of all, notice that in our own experience, notice the very clear difference between the physical body and the subtle body, between the body and the mind. The body, most obviously, strikingly, is a public thing, is an object like this thing. This body is also a thing. You can observe it, I can see it, I can touch it, I can hear it, I can smell it, taste it. Every sense organ reveals the body. You can also see it. The doctor can study it inside and outside. So the body is one object among many objects in the universe. No dispute about that. But the mind is not like that. The mind, the intellect, the memory, not like that. If the doctor, if any scientist wants to get at the mind or the intellect, the last thing they can find is the brain. Is the nervous system and the brain. I was recently talking with neuroscientists, and they were saying that even the fMRI scans which we are talking about, first of all, Swami, they are all low resolution. And second, they take readings at microsecond levels, whereas the actual activity of the neuronal pulses, they are much finer, much faster. And basically, the best scans that we have are like a sort of a regional scan and statistical scan of what's going on. Not that we are studying one neuron firing and its correlation with what's happening in our experience. No. So the last thing that we get is the brain and nervous system and activity of the brain and nervous system as much as we can study with the latest technology. But we can't study a thought. You just think 1 + 1 is equal to 2. Just think like that right now. Where is that thought? Nobody can find out, and yet you are experiencing it. Where is it located? What is it? It's no use saying it's a burst of electricity in the neurons. A burst of electricity in the neurons is a burst of electricity in the neurons. It's not a thought 1 + 1 is equal to 2. How does that burst of electricity become 1 + 1 is equal to 2? Nobody knows. That's what David Chalmers calls the hard problem of consciousness. Recently, Scientific American, last issue, February, cover story, Theories of Consciousness, trying to explain this. Our thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas. Forget Atman, Brahman, pure consciousness. Mind everybody has. A materialist also has a mind. Scientists also have minds. A physicalist, a material, everybody has a mind. Explain it. You can't. So, then Scientific American, cover story, Theories of Consciousness, trying to explain this. 29 theories. 29 theories. That means we have 29 theories to explain one phenomenon. Then you must say, well, it just means we don't know. We have no idea what we are talking about. Why don't we have any idea what we are talking about? The philosopher Galen Strawson, I met him, I've referred to him many times. Last week I met him for the first time. I was in a panel discussion with him in UT Austin. So years ago, in a piece in New York Times, Hard Problem of Matter, he says, actually the problem is, there is no problem, hard problem of consciousness. We have made up our minds that the body is the ultimate reality and the mind is just being generated by the body. Then we can't explain how the mind is generated by the brain, and then we call it hard problem of consciousness. Why not rather say consciousness is an independent thing, not generated by the brain? So anyway, before consciousness, Vedanta says even the mind cannot be explained by the brain and nervous system. So two components are physical body, subtle body. Two components. But Vedanta says there's a third component. What Vedanta calls the self, Atman. And that is consciousness itself, we will see later on. So Vedanta says there are three components. Why does Vedanta talk about a third component? That's a subtle thing. That's a very subtle thing, because that's not easily obvious. What is obvious is the world, what is obvious is the body, what's obvious is our thoughts and feelings, our personality. But I am something distinct from the body and personality. That's not obvious. That's what Krishna is introducing here. The fact that you are aware, notice something about the body and the mind, both. Notice something common to body and mind, both, from your perspective. Both are objects of your experience. The world is an object of my experience, by which I mean I can see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it, but the body is equally an object of my experience. So is the mind. The mind is also an object of experience. Each of us can experience our own minds. When I say I am happy, am I experiencing my happiness or not? Of course, otherwise it would be ridiculous to say I am happy. When I say I am very unhappy, I am in pain, do I experience my pain or not? Of course I do. Otherwise it would be ridiculous. It's ridiculous to say I am in a great deal of pain but I don't feel it. It makes no sense to say that. So we are experiencing our inner states. Therefore, if we are experiencing our inner states, those are objects. In that case, whatever we experience is an object, but objects are of two types. One, the physical public objects like the world and the body. Second, our minds, which are also objects to us, but only in a first person sense, private to each of us. So two kinds of objects, physical body, subtle body. And the one who is embodied, if it's a physical body, if it is a subtle body, in that case we are not the physical body, we are not the subtle body, they are objects and we are the subject. So we are that which experiences the physical body and the subtle body. Now, what does it have to do with being immortal? Well, death is only death of the physical body, that everybody agrees. That Arjuna in the battlefield he sees, people will die. That means what dies exactly? The physical body. And yes, with the death of the physical body, the brain and nervous system also will be destroyed. So it dies. But if the mind is not the physical body, the subtle body is not the physical body, why should we say that the subtle body dies when the physical body dies? When the hardware is destroyed, is the software destroyed? No, it can remain in the cloud. When you get a new piece of hardware, you can download your data. So, Vedanta says, not only Vedanta, in common with all religions of the world, Vedanta says there is something in us which was there before this physical body was born. And it was embodied in this physical body when it was born. And when this physical body dies, that one will continue. That every religion says. Vedanta calls it the subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. That's what continues the personality. Pure consciousness, Atman, Brahman is not a person, it's an impersonal principle. So what continues from body to body? What differentiates each of us? Why do we have separate, multiple lifetimes? What continues I do karma in this life and then I will get the results in next life. What is the connection? The connection is that subtle body. So that subtle body is the one which transmigrates from body to body, from birth to death to new births. Krishna will say in the Gita, certain is death for those who are born. We will say, we knew that already. Ernst Becker will say, that's what I'm talking about. I got a Pulitzer Prize for it. Certain is death for those who are born. But then Krishna says, wait. And certain is birth for those who die. That I didn't know. Those subtle bodies, when the physical bodies die, they go on to new births, and Krishna tries to soften the blow. He says, don't worry about it. It's like you are a baby, then you became a little boy or girl, and then you became a young person and a middle-aged person, and you thought it was perfectly natural. If you're kids, you're eager to grow up. You don't feel terrified that, I'm not a baby any longer. No, you're happy. Similarly, he says, death is just like that. You go on to another life, into another state of experience. Another example he gives is the famous one of the old clothes. An old suit of clothes is discarded and a new suit of clothes is put on. You don't think twice about it. Similarly, an old worn out physical body is discarded and a new physical body is put on. Nowadays in our modern computers and all, we know we can compare it with, you discard your old computer, but your work goes on. The soul is transferred from the old computer to the new computer, new phone. All your data, your contacts, your photos, everything is transferred there. More or less like that. The idea was that the subtle bodies will be downloaded into a new physical body and you continue your journey. However, he says, even the subtle body is not you. So here, Krishna is drawing a distinction which is not clear in English. In English, when we say soul, S-O-U-L, soul, it is an ambiguous word. It has two meanings. When you say two sentences, look at this. It's a, when you say, he's a good soul. And when we say, my immortal soul or my spiritual soul, you mean two different things. When we say he's a good soul, you mean he's a person of good character. He's a nice person, he's a good person. Maybe truthful, loving, selfless and things like that. He's a good soul. But when you say my immortal soul, you're talking about something else. You're talking about the spirit, about something spiritual. So Vedanta makes that distinction. So the subtle body is what you say when we say is a good soul. The subtle body carries those impressions of our personalities, our memories, our tendencies, vasanas from lifetime to lifetime. That constitutes our personality. But that's not who we are. We are deeper than that. We are this spiritual principle, this divine principle, the Atman, Brahman, pure consciousness, which is not a physical body, which is not a subtle body, which is of the nature of awareness, pure consciousness. It's useful to think what they are made of. What's the physical body made of? It's made of skin and bones and flesh and blood and organs and tissues and cells. What's the subtle body made of? It's made of thoughts and memories and conditionings, tendencies, samskaras, tendencies which are inherited from past lives and continued in. It consists of data, behavior patterns. What's the Atman made of? Consciousness. Only in the sense of pure consciousness, just bare awareness itself, bare consciousness itself, not the conscious mind. That's the conscious mind is consciousness plus mind, but the Atman is like light itself. Okay.